Hey everyone, it's Derek Arnold. This is my first video. I'm driving into work. I have about a 30-minute commute every day. It gives me some time to prepare for the day and to decompress afterwards. I think I have my best thoughts in the morning. That's probably natural. I think Einstein had some similar process. I think he held metal balls in his hands and slept with pans on the floor next to his chair in the reading room. And as soon as he would drift off, he would drop the metal balls, which would make a clanging sound, waking him up into a sort of hypnagogic state where he was able to access ideas that hitherto weren't available to him. And he employed these ideas regularly in his scientific theories. This is probably a natural process. A lot of the times we don't reflect on our dreams a lot. We don't think about our thoughts a lot. But thinking about thinking is one of the unique capacities humans have to delve into their own minds. So for instance, you can say you have a thought, you think that thought is you, but if that thought is you, then who is reflecting on that thought? So I think there are different layers, and a lot of the time we just get stuck on that first layer, which is reacting to a thought or sensation. But I know in order for us to apply that knowledge, there needs to be a secondary step, possibly a tertiary step. So we have a thought, and I think prioritizing our thoughts is a necessary act, and probably a sort of default mode of our rationale, which we all have. And it can't really stop there. I think I really touted positive self-talk for, the better part of the last 15 years. And recently, a good friend brought to my attention that positing this sort of philosophy without action behind it is empty. And I think I kind of railed against this initially because I have a graduate work in philosophy and cognitive science, and I think there's a lot of utility in examining your thought process in order to make changes. But I tried as hard as I could to deflect and argue against his statement. But after a few days, it invariably started to seep in and affect the way that I was starting to look at my own patterns and behaviors. For instance, I tend to push off projects. Why? Well, probably for the same reason we all do, which is, you're waiting for the right idea, the best iteration of the same idea that maybe you've been having or been professing for the better part of your life. At some point, this becomes your ideology, much like a religion, and religions are something that I deeply respect. However, I think we can all take note that regularly individuals can get caught up in the tradition of religion and forget about the spirit of religion. Today happens to be Halloween, which is centered on a reflection of spirits. I mean, it's probably evolved into something else, gift card and candy centered at this point. But the idea behind it is that we're taking a day and dedicating it to those we've lost. And how do we do this? We kind of celebrate it in jest, maybe satirically, by wearing masks. So this is something that got me thinking, are we all kind of wearing masks? I tried to delve into my day-to-day thoughts and apply more universal principles that I can extract from those. So being that it's Halloween, are you a zombie? Do you hide behind a mask? And that mask, which is your identity, is that static? And if it's static, it's kind of rhetorical. How far are you going to get in life? So zombie, there have been some more recent renovations of this concept, but traditionally, a zombie is a sluggish, sloth-like parasite of sorts. And it's easily outwitted. So, without employing a sort of dynamic or didactic process, which is what I mean by that is learning from yourself, it's hard to gain any ground. Now, I think there can be, I mentioned a tertiary process, there can be a, what Walker Percy has called, Percy Walker, rather, has called the triadic. The triadic is taking into account that there is something celestial or spiritual behind our thoughts. Now, Percy Walker Percy, who I called him, I tend to remember things mnemonically, even though they get backwards sometimes. Translated the works of another philosopher, Charles Sanders Peirce. Now, Peirce was big on signs and symbology, much like the psychoanalyst Carl Jung. So we see a sign. There's a sign. That sign indicates something. There's the thing itself. And then there's sort of like the spirit of that idea, which is neither the sign nor the thing. It's relegated to a separate realm entirely. So we have these two individuals, three, if you include Jung, all of whom I greatly respect, trying to tell us something about our own cognitive process. So don't stop at your first idea. Growing up, one of my favorite authors was Jack Kerouac, and he was famed for the slogan, first thought, best thought. Well, like I switched Walker and Percy, I think we think in images, like our dreams. And sometimes those are not rightly ordered. So we need a moment to reflect, maybe a commute on our way to work, in order to order and prioritize the items that are rolling around in our head, or our heart, if it's an emotional ordeal we're struggling with. I think work-life balance is something that's not talked about enough. Why is it not talked about? I think people profess and project that their problems are one or the other. So you might say, well, I would be happier if I got this promotion. Or I would be happier if my wife stopped giving me such a hard time all the time. I think one balances out the other. What I mean by that is you have to work hard to get ahead. And your family, your spouse, your kids, they give you meaning in that hard work. So you might, or someone else, or loved ones, friends. I think people are important. So if you're struggling and you have no one in your life, that's something to examine. The same thing with your home life. If you can't stop fighting with your wife or kids or friends, maybe you aren't properly applying yourself in other areas of your life. And that could be work. And if work is a-okay for you, it could be another area of interest. And maybe this is a callback to the triadic or tertiary way of looking at life, in that it's nice to have a hobby. People will tout to you that you should do something for work that you love. While I think the spirit of this is correct, it can easily misguide people by thinking that they should sacrifice what's ultimately profitable. And in today's world, you need to make a decent amount of money to live well. So if you're following your passion, which might be playing music or painting, but you aren't making a living, it's going to create more stressors for you, taking away the initial joy that you thought you felt from it when you were just doing it as a hobby. There's this delicate balance in life, and if we go too far in one direction, we feel off balance. And there are ways to balance ourselves back out. Sometimes we think this is a more complicated process than it is, but I'm proposing that there are 2 to 3 variables for us to examine. Work-life balance, and maybe something higher or lower in the middle, higher being maybe a spiritual aspect to your day-to-day activities. Lower would be maybe a grounding aspect. Lately I've been doing yoga in the mornings before work, just to kind of settle my mind. Or maybe something in the middle, taking some time out to work on an activity, maybe sketching while you're at work, or just taking a walk through the park if you have one near you on your lunch break. Either way, it's Halloween. I hope you all are out there tonight taking part in a long-standing tradition, watching the leaves change, bundling up because it's getting colder, spending time with your family, taking a break from work, which is important, and thinking about that tertiary step too. Take time to reorder your thoughts and give meaning to your activities. It's going to strengthen your productivity, give you more resilience, and ultimately, even though it's a byproduct, not a product, but it's going to increase your level of happiness and the sustainability of it. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.